It's a real pleasure to welcome back to the program John Ley, who is State Representative. He represents a District 18 position, too. And I want to talk about a subject that's become a familiar one on this show, although almost every week there's a new development in what ranks as the single biggest public works project in all of the Pacific Northwest. The last time we had something like that, way back in the day, it was a giant multi-billion-dollar mess. And I would say the Interstate Bridge project is not much smaller. In fact, it's grown. It has become an insane level mess, but we find out new and terrible things about it almost every week. And John has a brand new development to talk about today. John, welcome back.
Hey, Lars, thanks for having me on. A good citizen did a public records request, and we just found out this week that for his 5.5 years of boondoggle work on the IBR, former program administrator Greg Johnson was paid nearly $2 million. His salary ranged from just under $200,000 in his first half year up to $426,000 his final year here. It's an outrage when you
and all this for failing in the job. Is it fair to say that his leadership of that project, which has now grown to a low of $15 billion, may even be $18 billion, and may not even ever be built, literally, was not exactly a success story, was it?
No, it's a nightmare, and the whole program is in chaos. They don't have the money, and so as you alluded to, they're now going to phase the project. They don't even have enough money to build the first phase of the light rail project in search of a bridge, but they're going to include the path for light rail and without any trains on it, and that path is going to end 90 feet above the ground at the Vancouver waterfront. And they say if they can find the money, that transit component, which used to be $2 billion, is now $3.5 billion. And that's a 1.83 mile light rail extension. So you're looking at about $1.9 billion a mile. Truly an outrage, my friend.
And by the way, the other piece of the outrage might be this, because I think even Bob Ferguson with construction paper and crayons could connect the dots here. They hire Greg Johnson. He gets this gigantic payoff, almost $2 million over 5.5 years. And his former employer, a company called WSP, was hired on under his leadership as the general engineering consultant. Their first contract was $44 million. It exploded more than sevenfold to more than $300 million. Now, was that a coincidence that his former employer ends up getting a gigantic increase of sevenfold in the amount of money they're making from the project that their former employee was heading up?
Sadly, no, my friend. Both ODOT and WashDOT do a ton of business with WSP. And what I don't know is this type of outrageous contract being amended over and over again and exploding compensation the norm, or is it just abnormal to the IBR? One of the things we discovered was that in that contract, both WashDOT and ODOT appear to guarantee WSP a 32% profit for all their failed work. It's truly a ripoff of taxpayers.
It sure sounds like it. Now, here's the other piece to it, and I don't know if I suspect you agree with Bob Ortblad, the consultant, but he's the guy who has said that there are about 8 different reasons that this project cannot proceed legally, and one of them is the environmental impact statement. Of course, here in the politically correct Northwest, you've got to have an EIS. Only the EIS was written for the whole project, the $15 to $18 billion project. Now that they propose to build the first phase when they may never even reach the second phase, isn't that EIS just a bunch of waste paper at this point?
Yeah, there were over 10,000 pages of just giving BS answers to citizens' legitimate concerns, and that's a problem in and of itself. But it was Joe Courtwright, the economist from Portland, that gave 8 reasons that the
right. It was
whole
Joe.
Project. Yeah, and it now fails federal standards on many levels, and we would only hope that DOT Secretary Sean Duffy and his team come in and say this is out of control cost-wise and in no longer complying with federal guidelines. It's time to pull the plug and stop the bleeding.
Well, and didn't Courtwright point out, and I'm sorry I misidentified as Bob Ortblad, but Courtwright pointed out some of what is supposed to ameliorate or diminish the environmental impact is the stuff in phase two. But if you only build phase one, they don't let you get away with that, do they? Where you say, yeah, we're going to have a big impact on the environment, but we'll fix that in phase two. Well, are you ever going to build phase two? We don't know. Maybe we'll only build phase one and phase two will never happen. Well, then that's automatically a no, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And a different aspect of this, an awful lot of the environmental benefits, quote unquote, were because so many people, they alleged, were going to get out of their cars and ride the transit. Well, they created very false transit ridership numbers, something on the order of 26 to 33,000 daily riders, when currently we have less than 1,000 using transit over the Columbia River on the I-5. So that in and of itself was in essence a lie or a huge falsehood that they knew wouldn't stand ultimate scrutiny. So even the environmental benefits are fake, according to what the IBR proposed, if they delivered both phases. And with both states broke, Oregon especially, but both Oregon and Washington, there's no money to build the second phase, and they're going to have to find an extra $1.5 billion or so to finish phase one, and that's not guaranteed by any stretch.
I'm talking to State Representative John Ley from District 18, Position 2. And John, one of the things you've been pointing out for some time now is that crazy transit stop 80 feet off the ground at the Vancouver waterfront. I keep waiting because this does happen on my show. I'll warn people about something, as you've been warning people for years. And they don't get excited about it till it actually happens. I mean, I'm imagining that it's someday, if they go ahead and build this mess, despite the fact that it's illegal, despite the lack of funding, that at some point somebody's going to say, you've got a transit stop that's the height of an 8-story building, and you got to either walk up to it or take one of those always broken elevators that TriMet seems to specialize in. And you go, yeah, we warned you about it for years, and you never said a word about it. John, thanks for the update.